breaking right now. Thousands of protesters gathering in Tel Aviv demanding a hostage deal to secure the release of Hamas captives after the bodies of 6 Israelis were found in Gaza. Tension there continuing to rise by the hour, it appears, as we're seeing fire pits in the streets clashing with authorities and protesters blocking the highway in Tel Aviv. Joining me now with more is Behnam Ben Taleblu, an expert in Iranian missile terror and senior fellow at the Foundation for Defense of Democracies. Ben, want to get your thoughts right now on what we're seeing right now, this protest happening now. Do you think it's going to spread further and perhaps move the needle in the direction of getting some hostages back home?
Great to be with you again. In the very short term, no, I don't think that it'll really ignite the fire under the Netanyahu government to move towards a hostage deal, because already the Americans have been saying that the real shortcoming here has to do with Hamas's ultimate intentions to not deliver, and the real shock that the finding of these 6 bodies introduced, in my view, is only going to actually lend further credence to Netanyahu's military mission to continue and really end the campaign in Gaza, rather than to cut it short and negotiate over things like the Philadelphia corridor.
When we look at the idea of a ceasefire, obviously we got some hostages back in the last ceasefire that was there. Who is responsible for getting us to that place potentially again? And maybe by us, I mean Israel and Israelis to that place again so that we get hostages back. Is it Netanyahu? Is it the White House and the Biden administration? Who makes this possible?
Well, ultimately, it's a collective effort. I think that no matter the different, political constellations that exist in this coalition government in Israel, there's been broader international support, and some could even say pressure for a hostage deal at different periods in time. The times that those ceasefires were extended in the past, that obviously had to do with the Netanyahu government's flexibility. Much more recently, of course, you've had America intervene to really push for some kind of a brokered agreement using Qatar, using Egypt. Ultimately, in this most recent round where the Americans tried to bring back their 3-point plan, that was the Biden plan back from late May that had a 6-week phased ceasefire that would hopefully go towards the end of the conflict. Right now that is looking, again, not likely, but that was also brought to you by significant international or external players. So ultimately here, the foreign players matter just as much as the localized ones.
If you could talk to the president right now, President Biden and his administration, what would you tell them to do right now?
Well, there's a lot I would tell him to do, but in the super short term, I would again flag for him that an American Israeli was among those recently discovered 6 bodies that was killed. So that means that the U.S. itself does need a better, more proactive policy, not just towards helping Israel bring the war towards a successful political and military conclusion, but a better policy towards pressure against Hamas, as well as the ultimate patron of Hamas, which is the Islamic Republic of Iran. I think so long as the U.S. continues to disconnect the dots here, treat the patron different from the proxy, we're going to be going through multiple boom and bust cycles of violence in the region, where more Americans, where more dual national Americans and more American allies and partners will be continued to be subject to this multi-front proxy war.
We're in the middle of a presidential campaign. The changing of the guard, if you will, is going to happen in the next couple of weeks, going into next year. We're looking at, obviously, former President Trump and Harris. Which candidate do you think ends up being the better one for peace with this situation in particular?
Listen, this is as much stylistic as it is substantive. Peace, in my view, is best achieved through strength, not through weakness. Ultimately, a willingness to negotiate or willingness to use all options, including diplomatic options, matters. But a consistent preference for de-escalation over deterrence, like this administration and like, unfortunately, in my view, most of the mainstream Democratic left has, is only going to underwrite the next cycle of violence. And you don't have to take that just from me. You can take it from how much of the resistance media that is backed by the Islamic Republic of Iran or Hezbollah or a lot of the other terrorist factions across the Middle East are spinning this. This doesn't necessarily mean that they're waving their hand in preference of one candidate over the other, but they're certainly taking advantage of differences, no matter how minute, between America and Israel, between different factions of Israel. In fact, recently they're magnifying the comments of Gallant. They've been magnifying the comments of the Lapid Netanyahu meeting. So ultimately, whether you look at the Republican spin against Kamala Harris, this is something that's been amplified in the Iranian media, or vice versa. Any kind of disagreement between our domestic factions is going to be played up for Iranian or terrorist media propaganda purposes. But that doesn't mean we should not have an honest and robust and open debate about it. But it is to say that no matter how much we signal our desire for a diplomatic or non-military outcome or a limit to the military tool, the adversary is going to try to take advantage of that.
Behnam, really appreciate you joining us last minute here for this breaking news. Expert in Iranian missile terror and senior fellow at the Foundation for Defense of Democracies, Behnam Ben Taleblu. Thank you so much. All right.